Just audio.
Okay.
All right.
Did you want to look at our coops? Or?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Okay. So we're here on 12 acres, and we have a total of about 1,200 hens. You know, we've lost quite a few over the years, and we're just getting ready to cull our original flock. What I'm trying to do is place all these hens in homes.
Oh.
And, you know, just... Yeah? What's that? Yeah, come on. Brian builds all these coops.
Awesome.
He's amazing. His background is in fencing.
Okay.
So he's a welder, and all our coops are mobile. He's designed each one, and we've had this progression. You know, we started out just being a hobby farm, and our first coop was stuck to the ground, and we realized, oh my gosh, this is a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get gross.
Yeah.
Even if you only have 40 chickens, it's disgusting.
I've gotten pink eye from coops.
I know, it's easy to do. You can get really sick. So we decided to go mobile, and we figured that was going to be the best health for everybody.
So the benefits that you've found is less cleanup, less sorts of disease that kind of pop up.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And what other benefits have you found with that?
It's easier on the earth. You know, the nitrogen isn't all concentrated in one spot. So see, the hens have been all over this side of the pasture. See how it's mowed down? The chickens do that. So when the first rains come, the grass is going to come up without any obstruction. It's going to have a nice layer of manure, not all concentrated nitrogen in one spot. So we move the coops like every third day, and some of the coops every day almost.
Okay.
So it's not all poop in one spot.
Yeah.
It's spread out. It's less smelly.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good benefits to doing it.
And less pathogen buildup, from what I understand.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
Once you move them, 3 weeks later, the spot they were in, all the pathogens are dead because there's no chicken there. So that's another way that they stay healthier, and they're very susceptible to air pollution. Their lungs are very fragile, so when they're breathing in fecal dust or ammonia from the manure, they get sick. And that's why they have to use antibiotics in these factory farm warehouses. They would just be dead.
So that's one way you guys get around the input of having to use all of those antibiotics.
Oh, we don't use any,
Keeping them mobile, and you get around that. Excellent. That's
Plus
awesome.
the fact that we use heritage breed chickens. Factory farms, they use hybrids, which are designed to like throw out an egg almost every day, and they only keep them for 1 year. We keep ours for almost 3 years. Because by the end of that first year, they're pushing out so many eggs, they actually self-cannibalize because they can't eat enough food and calories and minerals to keep up with that, and their body self-cannibalizes as they produce these eggs. And they're just worthless, sick animals by the end of a year.
It's not worth it to them to keep them.
Now, do you do anything with your dead chickens at the end of the lifespan?
Well,
do you use them for meat, or?
We haven't yet culled the flock. Any flock.
Next month we will.
Next month, but like I said, we're trying to sell them to families as pets before we cull them. Give them a chance. But
I know
yeah,
an IPM guy up in Guerneville. If you'd like, I can give you his information. And that's
what guy?
So it's a meat and poultry inspector.
Okay.
I might have that mixed up. So, PMI, not IPM. It's Integrated Pest Management. But yeah. So yeah, if you guys are interested, I'd be more than happy to share that information. He basically comes out, slaughters your chickens if you're looking to turn them into meat. I know the egg bird breed isn't as good for meat.
Oh no,
we won't get as much per pound.
And they're old too, and they've been very active, so their meat is almost like turkey meat at that point.
So there's no viability there then.
No, you can make great stew. Great pot chickens.
The profit isn't as high as having a meat bird, but they've already run their course, providing for the farm. So it's good to process them for meat, so it's not a throwaway item. Like some farms, they just throw them in a pile and they just suffocate and die. So
it's terrible.
So that you are sustainable in that way. You get more out of the life of your chicken.
We're not 100% sustainable, but we're more sustainable in the fact that we don't have to bring tractors and truckloads bring equipment in and haul a manure away. We don't have to do more chickens more often. They live longer. So there's a lot of sustainability, and also the fact they eat more off the land. Okay. So you don't have to buy as many grains. So there's a lot of factors.
Bob.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna tell him to go in.
Sure.
Okay. Excellent. So, I mean, you know, it's hard to be 100% sustainable, but from what I see, you are at least, you know, you're instilling practices that make, you know, your dollar go a little bit longer and provide more sustainability than less.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's pretty much what the focus of the class is how do you, what are these things that people are doing to do that? And it seems like that you have adopted a system or found something that allows you to do that. Is there anything else that, you know, as far as the lifespan of the chicken that you can comment on, that you've made adjustments on that are different from conventional practices?
Yeah, that's the bad thing.
No, but what we are trying to do is grow more food for the chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to build a prototype, but it's actually it's a growing movement into this insect that's kind of recently discovered as an asset instead of a pest in compost systems,
mm-hmm.
because it's actually called black soldier fly.
Okay.
And it's not a disease vector like a housefly. They only live 12 days in the fly stage, just to mate. They don't eat. So when they're in the larvae stage, they consume massive amount of food and grow really fast, and then they self-harvest out of containment system. And as they self-harvest, they excrete their whole digestive tract and antibody over their body, so they're clean and ready to throw to the chickens once they fall into a collection bucket.
Yeah. So they're self-cleaning.
Yeah.
Self-cleaning, self-harvesting, and they'll eat almost any food scrap.
Yeah.
So it's a vermiculture basically. It's just like worm
yeah.
composting.
Except worm composting is much more work,
yeah.
and they're very picky. They can't eat like fatty foods because the oil will saturate their skin once they breathe through. But these black soldier fly, they can eat almost any.
They handle more polyphenols and lipids and things that are in more plants. Excellent.
And it's just pure protein.
On top of that, we can go and take the food waste from restaurants and grocery stores that would go to the landfill to feed insects that would feed the chickens.
Yeah, we're working on that.
So that whole sustainability concept just goes further with this operation if we add that composting system.
That is excellent.
Let's walk down there because we got to get
back.
Well, this guy might be someone trying to buy the chickens.
Oh, is he? Oh, no, that's Don the handyman.
Oh, okay.
Let me know. You guys can kick me out. I know I just came out of tractor class. It runs till 12, so I probably didn't communicate that. If I need to come back later, or if there's another day, this could be, you know.
Well, we're kind of busy is the problem.
I understand.
We usually charge $50 for a private tour.
Yeah. So,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we just don't have a lot of time.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So what, as far as focuses on community, do you guys kind of have in order? I see you have the egg stand.
Well, during the spring and summer, we offer family tours to sort of get the people that live in the subdivisions around us to come visit our farm. We want to be transparent and show them how their eggs are raised. We have that farm stand out front, and it's gaining popularity. We can barely keep eggs in the fridge now. And it's because we're surrounded by all this nice subdivision. People drive down this road 2-3 times a day. We're the only farm on this road. So they start to see, hey, look at the chickens. And they love it when our chickens come around near Arata Lane because everybody's looking at the chickens. And then, you know, it's just fun for kids and adults alike. The adults love it.
Do you do anything during harvest or holidays to kind of bring people in, or do?
We're just we're trying to be as educational with the farm tour as possible, but we have to finish streamlining our operation and building up to the point where we can actually make a living. We're not there yet. So it's really hard to go that extra mile more often with having like a farm dinner or something like that. So we're just doing the best we can until we can get bigger.
Too. You know, we don't have any help at all. A lot of work, just washing and packaging because we have beautiful packaging. is like 3-4 hours a day.
And so you guys follow all the EPA standards, 131 degrees when you wash and all that?
Well,
no, it's a minimum of 90 degrees.
90 degrees, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
That's something that I did not know. Okay, and do you have any special systems? Do you use a dishwasher? Or
we use our hands.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't afford an egg washing machine right now. We use those exfoliating mitts.
Yeah.
And then you just rub the egg around.
Genius.
Most of them are pretty clean anyway,
Yeah.
just a little rinsing. But then the really dirty ones, you just spend a little bit more time scrubbing.
Okay. Awesome. And I see you have this beautiful canine here. Do you use him as like a guard practice?
Yeah, we were losing a lot of chickens to bobcats and foxes and hawks.
Yeah.
There's actually a hawk that keeps a nest up in that eucalyptus tree. And even if we figure out a way to protect from the ground predators, the hawk can still swoop in. So he's really good at keeping all birds away. He see any bird flying close, he'll start running towards it.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
He turned out to be really, really good.
And
His brother didn't on the other.
Yeah, he's
His
a
brother-
great.
There's always the aggressor.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Is he
yeah.
the older one?
No, they're the
they're
same
twins.
age.
He's called a Great Pyrenees, and they're known for flock guarding.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For centuries, they've been used mostly for sheep and goats.
Excellent.
Until recently, people have been successfully doing it with chickens, but it takes a little more training.
Okay, I see you guys have some. Are these Rhode Island Reds or?
These are New Hampshire Reds.
Okay.
We have Rhode Island's way over there.
Okay.
In this flock, we have about 10 different breeds right now. And that's just because when we started out, we were so excited about getting chickens. We just got a whole bunch of different kinds.
Oh, yeah.
We need to experiment with what worked for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And work for the
Oh, did you
operation.
find ones that work better than others?
Oh yeah, we know not to get Delawares anymore because they're just so aggressive and hyper, and they tend to rule the roost a little bit too much for the dociler breeds like the Aracanas. So in our newest flock, those babies are 4 months old now. We got all just kind of docile breeds to go with the Aracanas, and it's working out splendidly. There's no pecking problems. They're all just kind of mellow. But this group, there's so many different varieties and so many different temperaments that this flock, we have more of a pecking issue. Nothing serious, but we just want everybody to be comfortable.
Yeah.
We found that harmony in your flock is the best thing.
Happy chickens.
Yeah.
Produce a lot of eggs.
They do.
Yeah.
They really
That's
do.
why we put like satellite structures, like the pallets and stuff. So they also for hawk protection. If they see a hawk, they can run to a pallet instead of running all the way to the chicken coop.
Yeah.
But also mostly for a getaway for the Shire breeds.
Yes.
They can get away and get some shade and water away from the main flock.
Right.
But you gotta balance the pros and cons. Like that's a more docile flock of chickens right there, but they're not as aggressive eaters, foragers.
Right.
That flock way over there,
Oh.
they're very aggressive. They've taken that whole area down really fast and just mowed it down very efficiently.
I see you have some other livestock over there.
Well, the original owners, we rent this property, they had a llama and sheep farm.
Okay.
And so they're in their 80s now, so they are no longer farming, but they're just letting them go to pasture until their life is done.
So you're renting this land?
Yes.
Well, we rent by the chicken. Because if you rent the acre, then you might have a problem if your chickens get wiped out from disease, predators, whatever. But by the chicken, something happens to them, you don't owe that money in rent because
So that's
the
the way you
chicken's
get
not
around
there.
the insurance policy.
Yeah.
Then. That
Well,
is your-
no, we do still have insurance, but it just helps us. Like we have 12 acres. If we had 50 chickens, it would only cost us, say, $25 a month to be here. If we have 1,200 chickens, it costs us $700 a month to be here. So they benefit too. The more successful we are, so are they. So it works good for both of us.
And they obviously get free eggs.
Oh yeah, I give them eggs. Yes.
Now, there wasn't many operations that could come and use this property except for sheep or goats because of the lack of water. There's not enough water for row crops.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would be having crops growing behind the chickens as they move through the pasture.
Yeah.
And we can utilize that manure more efficiently and grow more food for the chickens. But in the arid western part of the country, it's not very common to have green pastures through the summer.
Yeah.
So it just waters.
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest inputs. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, because we've grown a lot of vegetables in the past, but we had an infinite water supply.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, we have all this land, but we really can't grow crops. Unfortunately.
Are these trees fruit producing? Is this
apple?
They are.
Apples.
This used to be a big apple orchard, and that's just what's left. They do still produce. The ones that don't produce have fallen over.
So this is dry farmed, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So and any orchard waste, the chickens come right in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
There's still a few Japanese pears coming off of one tree. The chickens were there. We just moved them. So we do pick it up, but I mean, there's so many chickens that.
I mean, something falls. It's always bare under the tree, always.
Do you have any sort of like a hedgerow system that might attract insects that they might like and eat? Or...
No, I know that's becoming popular with sustainable organic farms, but without row crops, it doesn't benefit us attracting bees and other varieties.
I know. I was wondering if there was any sort of crossover between that, if you could implement that with the chickens.
No, that's why I think the most efficient way to go is with the harvest farming the insects. You know, instead of trying to attract.
Based on their protein needs. I mean, it'd be different if they were sheep or something, but they need so much protein.
Yeah.
Well, the egg operation in the United States is new to humans. I mean, until the mechanization of grain and to be able to harvest and grow grain cheap enough to actually feed animals, chickens were just the garbage disposal of farmers.
So that brings up a good question. Grain, you do supplement the moving tractor system with some feed.
Oh yeah,
a lot of feed. Like
they probably
5 tons
eat
of feed.
between 85 to 95% of their diet is grain.
Yeah, organic grain.
If we wanted to not feed them any grain, it would probably have to be like 5 chickens per acre, and they still wouldn't get enough food to have enough minerals and vitamins to produce eggs on a regular basis compared to scientifically put
genetically altered.
Not genetically altered.
No.
We don't use GMO.
No, right.
But just like a crumble mix, a feed mix that just has everything they need. It has the vitamins and minerals and oyster shell and energy they need, as opposed to them having to look for it all day and not finding it every day.
They wouldn't be consistent.
They wouldn't lay that much.
Yeah, the calcium they do. Yeah. Do you do any other inputs as far as water that would be considered natural into their systems? I have heard of some people doing like a lactobacillus and acidophilus, which is you're putting a beneficial bacteria in their system, and it helps them digest and get nutrients from the food so they eat less and produce just as much. And it's incredibly cheap to produce because it's just a starch wash that you ferment with some milk, let that ferment some more, and you make that.
I'll look into that. No, we don't.
It's all over the internet. It's one of the bigger things. It's some old Korean stuff that people use over there.
See, the problem with chickens is the same problems with humans. We're both omnivores, so we can eat so many different things, trying to find the perfect diet. Everyone is constantly searching for the Holy Grail. I have a book this thick about chicken feet. Okay. I mean, it's like it's very hard to figure out the perfect Holy Grail of food.
And have you found something that works particularly well?
We just order the feed mix that they put together at Hunt & Barron's grain mill, and then with the combination of hay, bugs, natural seeds they find,
they even eat little moles and snakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I see them go after
They eat
the
anything that goes in that patch, snakes and everything.
Yeah.
Frogs, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
They gang up on it as a team. I mean, they're pretty vicious.
I've yet to verify this fact, but someone told me once if you have herbivores with the chickens, there's some kind of bacteria that helps the chickens that is in the manure of the herbivores.
So like if you had a rabbit.
We have the llamas, the sheep, you know,
So
and then over there we have the goats. So I've yet to verify what bacteria, what what beneficial thing that it offers.
I know herbivores have cellulase, which is a bacteria that digests cellulose better, and that would make the lignins and those, you know, those heavy carbon bonds easier for them to break down. That might be something to look into.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm sure you heard of Polyface Farm and Salatin.
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh.
This is my first look into like livestock operations.
Oh,
I know
really?
just general
gosh.
farming.
Well,
Just Google Joel Salatin.
Okay.
He's like the godfather of pasture raising.
He's doing it when it wasn't popular. I mean, actually, this chicken coop is modeled after his newest design using a cross-truss system. So as you move it, the chickens don't get run over, and it's a safer, more vertical utilization of space.
Looks like they're on like skids almost.
Yeah, the skids work far superior than a trailer, which we have at the farm stand, and we retired as being efficient, because when it's really saturated out here, the tires doesn't distribute the weight enough, and it makes ruts and sinks.
I see that adds to soil health, and I see you have some contraption like that on your pickup.
That is our secret weapon. Now the front tracks, one of the bearings is gone. I have to replace that hopefully before the rain hits.
So you're on a dual system right now.
So but there's less soil compaction, and we can easily move everything on skids through here.
Yeah.
Now, when we run over grass this tall with the truck, the grass is standing right back up the next day.
Wow.
It's lighter on the pasture than our footprints.
So that provides soil quality for your pasture, and that is basically not hampering your chicken's ability to feed.
Yeah,
right.
And it keeps the soil healthier by not compacting it.
That's very cool.
But I have a new invention.
I never thought of that angle, because you know, you want to grow vegetables, keep your soil healthy, but you also want to grow
healthy grass.
Well, that's what Joel Salatin says. Someone's because he does pigs, cows, and chickens. He's like, "What are you, a chicken farmer or a cow farmer?" He's like, "No, I'm a grass farmer." Yeah. It's all about keeping the soil healthy, so the animals that rotate through it can eat the grass that is fertilized. And
so in that sense, you are actually zero inputs in the soil side of growing your grass. And indirectly, you do input to the chickens, and then chickens input here. But from that standpoint, you're not doing anything extra to the ground.
Oh no.
Correct. Now, in a perfect world, the farmer who grows the grain would then have the chickens come through and put those minerals and vitamins back into the soil from the grain that was pulled out.
I'm very glad you said that, because that is part of keeping it sustainable. That's
but it's not very practical yet. I mean, sure, it's good to be local and stuff, and that would decentralize the local food movement by having chickens out in Nebraska, you know, and like the chicken capital of the country right now is Iowa. And so eggs are shipped from all over to the country from Iowa, and it snows there. So they have to heat those huge buildings, and it's insane. They have 250,000 chickens in one building.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
the cage birds.
And you know, I'm sure it's a big building, but that's a lot.
That's too many.
I mean,
that's 1 foot and
that
one,
kind of farmer, he's got a pager that goes off if the ammonia levels get too high. That's the kind of farmer that it's not right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. As his new book would say, Joel Salatin, folks, this ain't normal. You know, and he says that throughout the whole book. It's just not normal growing a meat bird in 6 weeks to 6 pounds.
Yeah, that's.
You know, I mean, we have roosters that are almost 5 months old, and we would probably get 3 pounds.
Right.
It's just not natural.
Yeah.
It ain't normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good information. Yeah, I'm glad I chose you guys. You know, I live in that subdivision.
Oh, do you?
Actually, and I'm gonna tell my mom to come here and buy some eggs.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I drive by here every day to school, and I'm so glad to see, kind of like, then get to know the gears and, you know, the people behind the operation.
Yeah, we'd love to be able to do like a farm tour every week, but man,
just,
that someday.
Yeah.
You know, and this
2 people for all. And how many chickens do you have?
We're probably 1,400 right now.
13 and 14.
Now I hear that there's a magic number for profit, and that's like 1,500 birds.
Well, okay, so we do have some profit, but because we're so set on growing this business bigger so we can earn more money. Everything we've been making practically goes right back into the business.
Well, it's common for any new business.
Yeah,
you know,
but we've only been legitimately farming for profit for a little less than 2 years. So, you know, we do, like in the summertime, we probably have like maybe 3,000 to 3,500 that is positive after we pay our grain bills. But we have things we need to get, you know, we have stuff we have to
and we have to save it for the winter because they now are almost down 70% in production.
Yeah.
And actually, on the sustainable note, we do not use artificial lighting.
We
let them rest. We let them more naturally live through the year instead of trying to artificially push them to lay more.
Yeah, and that probably benefits them in the long run.
In the long
run,
run,
you have a longer period of production.
I mean, it's not good for us fiscally,
yeah,
but it is the more natural way to do it, and we're trying to go as natural as possible.
Do you know if on the long term it actually is? Does it get better if the time period is long enough?
I mean, we don't have facts and records to really prove it, but you look at a bird that should lay 9 months out of the year and rest and lays a little bit 3 months out of the year. So if you push them to lay, let's say 11 months out of the year, and they only have a month of rest, what do you think is going to happen to that bird?
Yeah.
You know,
they're
just going to get
stressed
and
that's
sick.
why people call them earlier than we do. You know, I mean, and everybody has their own farming practice, and we don't judge that.
No,
but just the way we're trying to do it is trying to give the bird the best life that it can have while it's providing for us.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of pasture-raised systems, they'll have a building and then the wagon wheel rotating fenced paddocks around the building. The only problem with that, you never get a break from the pathogens because they're in that building
all the time,
and you have to constantly throw fresh bedding in. So you're having bedding coming in and out. That's more carbon footprint and more money, but it does save on labor because it takes a lot of time moving.
We work hard.
So
absolutely,
every farm is different, and just even if it says pasture raised, who knows how they pasture raise.
How often they're
So I mean, the wording is so complex and so confusing to people when they go to a store. You know, they say cage free. Ooh, that's good. Well. That means that there's 10,000 chickens in a warehouse with 1 square foot per chicken. You know, and they're still breathing in all that fecal dust, and
they're living in
artificial lighting.
Their own poop is basically what they're doing.
And they're eating
and they eat, and they're not discriminate. They'll eat food and poop mixed together. So you try and keep it as clean as possible.
Yeah.
That's what we try and do by moving them so frequently. You know, and
I have to say that when you said you weren't sustainable on the phone, this is very
well. She's just thinking 100% sustainable.
Yeah, we're not 100%.
This is very good, guys. This is absolutely what my class is going to want to hear because you guys are giving me complete new information that we haven't heard based on livestock production.
Good. When I hear sustainable, I think, we create what they eat 100%. And
that's it. Everyone has these terms.
That's why cows are actually very sustainable.
Yeah,
because
cows are.
You know, as long as you don't feed them grain. You know, if they're grass fed all the way to butchering age, then they're way more sustainable than chickens. But you know, we're not living 100 years ago where grain's cheap enough now, and we can have egg operations. So we're trying to make it as sustainable in the modern society as we can.
I hear that a lot of the grain, I'm curious on what you have been hearing, a lot of the grains that we feed animals are GMO grains.
Well, that's why we use organic only. And if you use certified organic grains, they can have no GMO grains in there.
And if they do, they're breaking the law.
Yeah.
So,
excellent.
I mean, every month we get a certified letter stating that our food is 100% organic.
Awesome.
Now, if we did it right, if we can work it right, I mean, that's what I was telling you about earlier with the book of this stick about what to feed chickens. If we could get the magic going with the insects, then we could take the soy out of our feed. Because they would get plenty of protein from the live, fresh insects. Because 10 square feet of these larvae is equivalent protein as an acre of soybeans.
Yeah.
And those insects are eating food that would have been thrown in the landfill.
What is the history of this? Is this something that just popped up new?
It's pretty recent, where this guy went into researching this insect, and all he found was 2 books written about how to kill it, because people would have the worms, and they'd have compost piles, and they would show up, and they kind of destroy they would push the worms out, you know, and people hated them. So, so as he did more research, he created, he calls it a biopod, and he uses plastic, and it has a ramp that they crawl up, has a nice drainage system, and then a collection bucket, and you just fill it with food scraps, and they naturally are in the environment, usually around the border of the country. The higher up you go in the states, that you don't see them naturally.
So they're warm climate,
temperate
zone,
and then in the winter they kind of slow down. They'll mostly stay in the larvae stage. They can stay in that stage for months.
So that's something a building can take care of. And
that's why I'm thinking of a greenhouse, and they